In a small, prosperous village named Ugoma, there lived a wealthy merchant named Madam Nkem, whose beauty was legendary. She was admired for her grace and elegance, with many men vying for her attention, but none could capture her heart. She had inherited her father's vast estate and businesses, but her wealth had made her cautious, for she had seen too many men whose love was tainted by greed. One day, as Madam Nkem sat in her courtyard contemplating her lonely life, a young man arrived at her gate. His name was Okechukwu, and he had come to seek employment as her gateman. The moment Madam Nkem laid eyes on him, she noticed something different about him. Okechukwu was not only strong and agile, but he possessed a rugged handsomeness that made him stand out from any man she had ever seen. His skin was as dark as the rich soil of the land, and his eyes gleamed with a quiet intensity that spoke of both humility and intelligence. But it wasn't his looks alone that intrigued her. There was a mystery in the way he carried himself, a kind of grace that belied his humble position. Madam Nkem found herself captivated, but she kept her feelings to herself, for she was a woman of dignity and high status. She hired Okechukwu, who began his duties as a gateman. He worked diligently, keeping the estate secure and always standing at his post with unwavering dedication. Though Madam Nkem's heart fluttered when she saw him, she never let it show, only greeting him with polite nods as she passed by. Okechukwu, on his part, was grateful for the employment. But as time passed, he began to notice how Madam Nkem's beauty seemed to radiate even more each time she passed through the gates. Though he knew she was far beyond his reach, something deep inside stirred a yearning, a desire to be more than just the man who opened and closed her gates. What Okechukwu didn't know was that fate had already begun to weave their destinies together. Several months went by, and Okechukwu's diligence earned him the trust of the household. Madam Nkem's estate was large, and many valuable items passed through the gates each day: bags of gold, rare fabrics, and precious ornaments. However, Okechukwu never once gave in to temptation. His honesty became the talk of the village, and Madam Nkem respected him even more for it. One day, a wealthy merchant visited Madam Nkem with an extravagant gift, a necklace encrusted with rare diamonds. It was meant as a bribe to win her affection, but Nkem, uninterested, thanked the merchant and refused his advances. She handed the necklace to Okechukwu and instructed him to store it safely in the house. As Okechukwu held the glittering necklace, he was struck by its beauty and immense value. Many lesser men would have taken the opportunity to steal such a treasure, but Okechukwu's heart was pure. He locked the necklace in Madam Nkem's private safe and returned to his post without a second thought. Later that evening, Madam Nkem called him into her quarters. "Okechukwu," she said, her voice soft but serious, "today you were entrusted with something worth more than what most men earn in a lifetime. Why did you not even hesitate?" Okechukwu met her gaze steadily. "Madam, you have given me honest work and treated me with respect. I cannot repay your kindness with dishonesty." His words touched her deeply, and for the first time, Madam Nkem saw him not just as a gatekeeper, but as a man of extraordinary character. A strange warmth bloomed in her chest, though she quickly suppressed it. Yet, despite her efforts, the seed of attraction had already been planted in her heart. As time passed, the quiet bond between Okechukwu and Madam Nkem grew, though neither dared to speak of it aloud. Madam Nkem found herself lingering at the gates more often, seeking any excuse to talk to Okechukwu. They spoke of simple things: village life, the weather, and the duties of the estate. But beneath their words, a deeper connection was forming. Okechukwu was careful to remain respectful, never overstepping the boundaries of his role, but the way Madam Nkem's eyes lingered on him did not escape his notice. One day, as the sun was setting and the sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, Madam Nkem approached the gate where Okechukwu stood. She had come to admire the sunset, or so she told herself. Standing beside him in the golden light, she felt a pull she could no longer ignore. "Okechukwu," she said softly, "you've been with me for over a year now, and in all this time you've shown nothing but loyalty and honesty. You're not like any man I've ever known." Okechukwu, surprised by the sudden intimacy of her words, felt his heart quicken. "Madam, I'm just a simple man doing his duty." "No," she said, turning to face him, "you are more than that. You are a man of integrity, and I've come to admire you greatly." Okechukwu felt his throat tighten. He had long admired her from afar, but to hear her speak so openly of her feelings stirred emotions he had tried to suppress. Yet he knew the gulf that separated them. She was a wealthy lady, and he, a mere gatekeeper. "But madam, I am not worthy of your admiration," Okechukwu said, his voice barely a whisper. Madam Nkem shook her head, her eyes glistening in the fading light. "You are worthy, Okechukwu, more than you know." The air between them was heavy with unspoken words. Though they stood close, neither dared to cross the line that divided them, at least, not yet. Weeks passed after that fateful conversation, and Okechukwu found himself increasingly unable to hide his feelings. He knew Madam Nkem was beginning to see him as more than just a gatekeeper, and though he tried to keep his emotions in check, the love he felt for her grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, a great storm descended upon the village. The winds howled, and the rain came down in torrents. As Okechukwu stood at his post, drenched in cold, he heard the voice of Madam Nkem calling out from the doorway. "Okechukwu, come inside. You cannot stay out there in this weather." Reluctantly, he obeyed, stepping into the warmth of the grand house. Madam Nkem led him to a fire, insisting he dry himself. As the flames crackled, she sat beside him, her eyes soft with concern. "You've protected me and my estate for so long," she said gently, "but who protects you?" Okechukwu looked into her eyes, the walls around his heart crumbling. "Madam, you've given me more than protection. You've given me a purpose. But I cannot deny what I feel anymore." Madam Nkem's breath hitched as she realized the depth of his confession. She reached out, her fingers brushing against his hand. "I cannot deny my feelings either," she whispered. In that moment, the barriers between them fell away. Okechukwu and Madam Nkem, once separated by status and duty, were now united by love. It was a love born not out of convenience or wealth, but of mutual respect, integrity, and an undeniable connection. Though the village would surely talk, neither of them cared. What they had was rare and true, and in each other, they had found something more precious than gold, an unbreakable bond of love. And so Okechukwu, the handsome gatekeeper, became the man who stole the heart of the beautiful lady who once employed him.
There are a lot of lessons to be learned from this story. I would love to hear your opinion in comment section. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and press the red button to subscribe to my channel. Bye.